for your healing. The circumstances would change. I pray that the fear inside would flee in Jesus' name.
John 10:10 tells us the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but God came to give us life abundantly. Welcome to another episode of Healed, Whole, and Happy. I'm your host, Vianney Montero, and this is part 2 with Father Yozefu Ssemakula. Welcome, Father. And now, in this session, Father will let us know what happens at the seminars and will give us an overview of how we can pray effectively for our families. Welcome back, Father.
Thank you, Vianney. Thank you. Good to hear us again. So, of course, we basically believe that those who are watching now watched before,
Yes.
so they know where we're coming from. Yes. So, basically, of course, then we heard about many good things that happened as a result of people doing the healing from seven and then doing the prayers, whatever. But people then should know then how do we get there? What do we do?
How do we pray effectively for our families, Father?
Yes.
And for our listeners, if you're just tuning in, we're speaking about the healing of families. This book was written by Father Yozefu as a guide to allow us and help us to learn how to pray effectively.
Yeah.
So,
By the
Father,
way,
tell us what happens. Go ahead.
Just as talk about the book, just as a side note, that book has now been translated into about 13 languages now. Last one has been in Vietnamese.
And this is just to show how many people are seeking for healing.
Exactly, that's the point. Yeah.
And our country believes needs the healing. So I am so excited that you can be here with us, Father, and just teach us, or at least give us an overview.
Yep. Share on this. So, basically, when you like those who must have followed us last time, when you hear about all these good things that come out of the healing of the families ministry, one says, "Wow, then there must be a lot of prayer there. I mean, such a big effort, or whatever." Yeah, maybe there is, but the thing is that I mentioned that also towards the end of last time, our first encounter, that one of the things that makes me really so excited is it is completely transferable. So I am able to share all this information with people, and people understand it, and they can manage it on their own. They can even go and teach other people they want. Basically, we have been living in this ministry as a glimpse of the Acts of the Apostles, the beginning of our faith. Way back in Jerusalem, those who were baptized got so enthused by their new faith, they would spread out because also this persecution. They go, but they will not keep quiet. They will just talk about this there, and people get more and more baptized. So the more they will spread out, the more they got persecuted, the more spread out, the more the faith actually spread out. But because everybody felt they were a protagonist, why? Because they understood it so well. It wasn't that complex, really. So I understood it. I go and tell other people what I understood. And the Healing from Seminars ministry has been basically something like that. People understand it so well, even if they are previously completely uninitiated into the whole area of healing prayer, whatever, but they come to the seminar in 3 days, they are completely into the mix. They understood it so well, and they manage and they man the concept so well, and they begin to get the results out of praying in this format, because they know each and every, they understand each and every step of the way. And then, of course, because of that, their high understanding, they're able to automatically share it with other people who get the same results too. You see, so I don't have to be there. I don't have even to know where did it go, how far did it go. No, people just share it, they understand it. It keeps on working, just like that, because it's actually God in there who wants to save his people, Right. So what do we do what do we have as the basic element too in the healing of families ministry is what we call the 3-day healing of families seminar. So it takes about 24 hours of pure teaching, because in 3 days we do 8 hours a day, so we do 8 by 3, 24. And 24 hours, we're able to bring a person from basic ignorance about all this healing prayer to experts. Just like that. And now when they become experts, now they know what to do. So what we do at the Healing of Families seminar, basically, there are three main components there that really people got to get. Somehow also they trace my own struggles, my own journey. You guys understanding this, and then eventually beginning to work with it. The very first thing that must be healed is our understanding of God. Very, very, very important.
So that's key number one, our understanding of God.
Understanding of God.
And why
Because
is it so important, Father?
why is it? Oh, that's a super important question too. I remember one translator one time. I think that time they translated the book into Spanish. Now I write about the importance of understanding the nature of God in chapter 2 of that book. But when I was writing the book at that time, in my mind, I was only writing a wide introduction to prepare people to get into the actual prayer about the actual problems. And so I just felt I couldn't just get to the problems. And I've got to give them an understanding about God and where is God and how does God view it. But just to prepare the field, ground. Now, one translator once, after working in chapter 2, and then working a few chapters later on, showed back me and said, you know what, Father? Chapter 2 is the key to the whole book. If they get chapter 2, they got it. If they miss chapter 2, never have it. And I'm thinking, no, that was just a wide introduction. I know it wasn't. Now, after a while, after a couple of years, 2-3 years maybe, I begin also to work with my own chapter 2. And I'm thinking, I wrote this, really? I wrote this? Oh, really? You know, I was surprised. I wrote this, yeah. Because as time went on, I was of course, I was teaching more and more. You know, as I taught this, I was understanding it more. I was understanding it better. So I come to discover later on that a lot of things I understood later as I taught, actually, I said them in chapter 2, but I didn't notice, you know, that was that important. But how it turned out to be so important later on, you see. So chapter 2 is really a very, very important chapter in the book. And why? Because God is the initiator of everything. Mm-hmm. Apart from being the creator of the world, He's the creator of our life too, you know. So everything that happens in life basically is happening in God's globe. Even if we can live in God's globe and still be out of it because we don't want to be part, it's possible, but it's all within there. So then, of course, it's imperative to understand. But how does God look at this whole thing? Where is God in all this, by the way? What is God's part? You remember where I began from and asking God, why do you persecute those who pray to you and leave those off the hook? You know, at that point, at that point in my life, I believed that God was doing everything.
Right. So even your image of God wasn't correct.
Exactly. You know. So, and by the way, that's very, very much the Old Testament too in your Bible. See, that basic understanding of God as a God who does each and everything, while it is true, it's not really true. Because if we are true, then God becomes responsible for our sin too. Of course, we cannot be. Also, then He cannot be responsible for everything. Of course, He cannot be. You know, but our basic approach to God is really colored a lot by that idea, which is a very, very Old Testament idea. It doesn't mean it's a bad idea; it's just an Old Testament idea. But then, of course, we understand that the Lord came of the Old Testament and put things further. So not just at that level anymore. We went further. The problem here is that sometimes we forget that the Lord took us further and we're still stuck in there. You know, that's a big problem, you see. But anyway, it's a basic idea, basically a Christian understanding of God, that whatever happens down here, doesn't matter. God is doing it, see. And therefore, that's why at my 15 years old, I was able to say, look, God, if these people are praying this much and they're suffering this much, why are you persecuting them? Basically, I was asking God, why are you persecuting them? Mm-hmm. Because of course He did it. I mean, God does everything. God did it. You did that too, you know. Well, people have got to understand that. As long as people believe that, they can never heal. You know why? Because at some point they begin to believe that their suffering is God's will. And therefore, if God wants what's happening to you, are you going to fight God? You can't fight God. So you just give up. But then the Lord Jesus, the Son of God, comes and says, no, my Father doesn't do, my Father doesn't do that. And one has got to learn the lesson of the Son. And so in the seminar, you take quite a bit of time to make people understand, yes, there is the first understanding, our first understanding as humans of God that's very well presented in the Old Testament. But that's not all. The Son comes because the Father saw there was something missing. Don't forget that. If the Old Testament was complete, the Son would have come. So accept the Son to take you further on. And if at all you find the Son contradicting anything in the Old Testament, drop the Old Testament. It's gone. You see? Now, that takes a while to understand it. But at some point, we could understand that the Son cannot come to contradict his Father revelation in the Old Testament. And therefore, his Father had said something to the prophets, and Son comes and says something different, then it can't be both together because they're contradictory. So what happens? Drop the prophets. I mean, it sounds obvious now, but it doesn't come obvious to a lot of us, who grew up Catholic and grew up even Christian and so on. It doesn't come obvious because we don't hear those lessons when we're still young,
Right.
It's true, this hard life, this hard experience of life is bad, but you begin to ask some best questions, but there's something not connecting here. What's that? And as you begin to search to understand more of that, you understand that the image of God you had that was operational with you, that you're working with, actually is not completely true. And therefore you can't operate the wrong image of God and get out what's correct. No, can't happen. Because wherever there is cloudiness, there's even almost falsehood, whatever, of course, then God is not there. God's truth and light, and So the very first healing that people must work on is healing their own perception of God.
That
That
God
they
did
move
not bring this to us.
Exactly. Moving from the God that all of us grew up with, which is the God of the Old Testament. In other words, we come from our own Old Testament, and we get into the God that has been given to us by his Son. Now, when the Son comes and speaks to us about his Father, you can't compare that with the prophet. I mean, if the prophet is saying the same thing, well, I'm good. But if the prophet said something else, forget the prophet, my friend. This is the Son, And then the Son comes and says, no one knows the Father except the Son. That's it. So when the Son comes and does it, and by the way, he says that a lot of times, not just once, but just a few times, especially in the Gospel of St. John. The Son really makes a point to make you understand, I am the only valid and completely valid presenter of my Father here. And no one has ever done this. No one has ever done this before me, and no one will ever do this after me. Because I am the only one who knows him. Nobody else does. And I have seen him, and I am one with him. And no one has seen except the Father. No one knows the Son except the Father. No one knows the Son, the Father except the Son. He keeps on repeating this a lot of times, and then you wonder, Jesus, have you got a problem? Even the voice at the mountain says, listen to him. So with all that insistence, then you understand what the Hebrew says. The very first verse, God spoke in a certain way in the past, but now his speaking is changed. It's different. That was prophets, but now he's speaking through us through the Son. And what he's saying here, he has never said at all. He never said this before. You see, so then that means that what he's saying is final. And if at all what the Son is going to say about his Father, if at all it correlates what the prophet never said, forget the prophet, drop them. Because they never saw the Father. They're only messengers. They're not the Son, Now, when we make our own move from our own Old Testament to our New Testament, understanding the Father as the Son makes us understand him, that's it. It's first healing. And when that healing happens, all the healing will follow. Very, very careful. So we do a very good segment on the healing of our image of God. And then we go on to our own understanding of our own lives. So basically, the three components of this are God, us, and the devil. The three main elements of the Healing Family Seminar. And we try as much as we can in last short time, of course, those 3 days, to make people understand those three segments very, very well, those three parts very well.
So could you repeat that,
Because
Father? So it's God,
God and us, human beings, and then the devil, Satan.
okay.
Yeah. So whatever you have in your life, because that's the us part here, okay, the middle. Whatever you have in your life is a result, and only and always a result of our interaction between of the interaction of God's life and the devil's life into our lives. Interaction or intervention, whatever. But what we must understand here, that's very, very key. We call the shots, not God. That's another very important lesson we have got to understand.
What do you mean
So
by that,
consciousness-
Father? What you're saying we call
God
it shots?
is offering life.
Right.
Exactly, yeah. Satan is offers death.
Mm-hmm.
God is always offering life. Let me put God on my right. For you to be your left, though. God is always offering life here. Satan is always offering the exact opposite of that, so death. Now we're in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've got to get these three components very well. How does God actually end up calling them the three systems actually to life? So how does God's system operate? And how does the devil's system operate? And how does our own system, we human beings, operate? And basically, so God offers life, devil offers death, and we in the middle choose.
Oh, we
You want life?
choose. We choose
You want
life or
death?
we choose death.
Exactly.
Free will.
Now, free will, exactly. Free will is the key to the whole thing. Now, when you go by the Old Testament, you actually find that even if you never had those three parts at all in the Bible, it's always just that. It's always three: God, us, devil, devil, us, God, God, us, devil. All through the Old Testament. The prophets, why? Because they're coming from God to talk to us about the devil. The evil spirits that come into from the devil are coming to us humans because we called them in and they try to destroy life in God. It's all that. Now the Son comes later on, and what is he saying? I'm coming from the Father. Oh, hey, but wait a minute. I came to preach the kingdom of God because that's where your life comes from. But hey, look up the devil. You know, it's amazing how much time Jesus, the Son of God, spends educating us about the devil. Now, it's really amazing that, even more than amazing, I would say in that sense, that we, the followers of Christ today, even we preachers, I would even put it that way, we hardly ever speak about Satan. We basically pretend he's not around. He's dead. I mean, that's the kind of, we talk about God and us. But as long as we talk about in life, about God and us, there's a big chunk of life you never completely will be able to understand. That one. You see? So now, Jesus, the Son of God, he does a fair balance. I mean, he's talking about God and the devil. Of course, us is among us. He came to live among us. So he's always among us. He's with us. But he's talking to us about God, talking to us about the devil. And those lessons always go together. But at some point, I even began to realize how dangerous it is. No longer just unfair and unbalanced, but how dangerous it is to speak to people about just God's love, without ever educating them about the devil, because that life of God that has grown up in us from baptism, the devil is going to fight it with all his might.
So he's going to come steal, kill, and destroy.
Of course, and since we don't know anything about him, he's going to win each time. I mean, he's going to get all the shots right each time because we don't know who he is, where he is, what he's doing, how he's doing it. We don't know anything of that, And he is fighting against that life of God that has been ushered into us. And we don't even know how valuable this life is because we don't know that this life has even got an enemy. So you basically expose somebody and put him right in the face of the devil by giving him baptism and never talk to him about the devil. The devil will just come at him and lash at him, because he wants to kill that life of God in him. Now, in the meantime, the person gets crushed too. Because they don't know there's a devil, they don't know there's an enemy, they don't know go to fight. No, they just destroyed.
And that's the biggest lie, right, Father? Believing that we don't have an enemy, so we don't fight.
Yeah. Maybe you've heard this said that one of course, the big lies of the devil in the modern world is to make us believe there's resistance. No, you have heard that before, sure. Yeah. I said it's real. And it's taken hold of our civilization, modern civilization, like big time. So a lot of people, you say, what? Talking to the devil? Come on. Are you from the Middle Ages? I mean, how old are you? You know, I mean, people make kinds of fun. But all that fun is translated into pain. That's what comes from. If you don't know who the devil is, then you don't know what he does, how he does, when he does it, and with who he does it. I mean, completely in the blue about it, to talk about this, that means that gives me a lot of leeway to hit and strike at you just at leisure, at any time he wants to see distraction. And all that causes pain. And people find themselves in a lot of pain and suffering and got no clue what that is. But because they believe in God, and they talk to God, they say, God, but why are you doing this to me? But God, where are you? And God is saying, you're asking me, you know? Because this person was only taught God and me. I never taught the devil. And yet we in the middle here, we're always making constantly, we never stop. We're always making our choice between God, God's life, and devil's life. We are always doing that, whether we know it or not, like it or not, aware of it or not. That is how we just are. And so all those choices made even unconsciously from the devil. Yes, we can make unconscious choices of the devil. For him, they're not unconscious. Oh no, for him, they're great. And how he wishes that everybody picks on him, I mean, chooses him without knowing what they're doing. How he wishes that the whole world did this, you know? Because what does that mean? It means that he comes into our lives and is able to mess them up, and we've got no idea what's going on. So we cannot get anybody into God's healing permanently if they don't understand those three systems and how they work and how they interact to cause what life is to us. So basically, we teach people about God's system, teach people about our own system, and we teach people about the devil's system, and how by our own free will we move between those two. Of course, the third one being our own, and how we bring God's life or the devil's death into our lives here. And everything that happens here is completely under our own responsibility.
Our own.
Now, when people get that lesson very well, then they stop joking. And then life gets into them. Because they know what that life of God is, and they know how to bring it there and keep it there. Because they know
we stop choosing the enemy, and we start choosing God, and we start choosing the goodness of God instead.
Exactly.
And then we're very aware that an enemy exists. So then we
and choose him as well. You see,
right?
Yeah. Now, so people have got really to understand perfectly well and man perfectly well these three systems. And of course, God wants us to just bring in his life, but he can't do it without us. We have got to do it. So then, of course, we get to know how we do that and how that happens. And the devil too, as much as he wants to destroy our lives, he cannot do it without us. So he also needs us to somehow allow him in. Even if we may not be aware of what we're doing, doesn't matter. That's what he wants. And people have always thought that the devil cannot come in their lives without them being aware. No, that's a big lie. And how he wishes everybody thought like this, the devil. You know, it's possible to choose the devil without knowing you're choosing the devil. Why? Because we are just ignorant. We're not educated enough. We didn't take time to learn the things of God, you know. But if we take time to learn the things of God well, especially as the Son teaches us, automatically get to the devil, because the Son is talking to us about devil all the time, you know. The Son, Jesus Christ, speaks about Satan at least 12 times in the Gospels. That's a lot. You know. Now, if everybody of us spoke about the devil 12 times a year, that will make you a good amount of awareness in your life about the devil, and you know how to fight it. But But many of us just go for years. So devil, come on, devil, come on. Well, let's be serious here.
We
Okay?
ignore it.
No, but it doesn't ignore us, of course. So once we've done those three, principles, those three parts, basically the seminar is just, of course, we introduce those three parts, and then we talk about, then you go depth in each of these areas. How does God operate to give us life? Then how do we operate to receive that life of God, and maybe the one of the devil as well, because we receive both of them, depending on our free will. Of course, we spend a great amount of time on our free will, because one of the biggest things that people don't know is our free will. And yet, even if you don't know your free will, you're always using it anyway. You cannot stay 1 second without applying your free will. Can't happen. We're a system of choosing. Just like God sees the system of good, of life, the devil is a system of death and destruction of life. We're a system of choice. We are always constantly choosing something. Even if you're not aware, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Not all lives not all life is awareness to us. Now, look, let me ask you, Vianney, are you aware of what your liver is doing right now?
Yes. Part of it, yes.
Are you aware of what your liver is doing? Really?
Well, not completely, no.
You know what your liver is doing because
Yes.
you're in some book, but
Yes.
you are not aware of what's doing now. You know?
That's true. That's true. That's true. I know the function of it.
Exactly. And yet, the moment your liver stops working, oh, something's wrong here. Oh yeah, then you're aware.
Yes, you're right, Father.
Now, what I'm trying to demystify something here. It's not true that we have to know whatever is going on in our lives for it to be our lives and for that thing to be effective in our lives. No, that's a big lie. No. Because life is just not made that way. Now, look, if we were aware of everything that's happening in our lives right now, you can't even be talking to me right now. How are we talking to you? Because, you know, my vein is taking blood, and then my valve is opening and closing, and then my cholesterol is getting out of it, and then my lip, come on, and I talk to you. Of course I can talk to you.
I'd be too busy worrying about the rest of the team.
Yeah. And because I'm not aware of that, I can talk to you, I can teach God's people, you know. And yet, whatever is going on in the background, inside my life there, is extremely important. How do I know it? The moment it's just going on. Oh, I said, oh, wait a minute. I've got a ring in my ear. What's going on? You know, whatever it is. So, life is not always conscious, and yet it is life anyway, and effectively so. So I want people to learn that lesson about the devil. The devil does so many things in our lives, and we're completely oblivious of them. But because you're oblivious, we believe, we imagine nothing's happening. Oh yeah, we wish. You know, so we get people to understand this. That's why we take time to teach people about the system of the devil. He's got a whole world to himself. He's got his own way of doing things, and you've got to know them. Now, the good news is this, that the devil is not God. The devil is not eternal. The God is not what's the word again? Eternal. God is not endless. And the devil is not endless. So it is possible to know the devil, even if he's bigger than us. Oh yes, bigger than us for sure. Bigger brain, yes. More intelligent than us, yes. Because he's an angel. But it's possible to know him anyway, because he's got limits. Now, it's not possible to know God, because God has no limits. But what God wants us to know of him is all his working with us. God wants us to know what to expect of him and what not to expect of him. So even if, as much as we can never know the God entirely, but God wants you to know that part of him that's got to do with you. Because it's you, it's about you, finally, you know. So that we can know. And then the rest of the other God, or the rest of the other rest of God, we afford not to, because that will be for the other world. But in this world, there's things that God wants you to know about him, because he's going to be using those things and not changing them, by the way. And that's a good point too. The way God works with us doesn't change. And that's what delivers to us with through his Son. The way the Son is going to operate with us, that is how God the Father is going to maintain his relationship and work with us. So we can always count on that. Can you imagine if you don't know what to expect from God? How can be alive? How can you be alive? How would you know what to do? So God, in his mercy and goodness, he opens that part of him to us that we need for our lives. And make sure Jesus Christ, his Son, gives us the fullness about that. So we know what God will do and what God will not do. You see? Now, so then once I come in my own system here, I know what comes from God's side. And I know what can never come from there. Now, the Son, when he comes here, after giving us God, he tells us the devil too. So that you know what comes from their side too. And what does not come from there. Now, the verse you quoted when we begin this session is wonderful. From God comes life and in abundance. That's all. That's it. That's the only thing that ever comes from God. So God will not send you disease, cancer, because that's not life. Oh no, but no, God sometimes send you disease in order to send you goodness. Wait a minute. Does God know goodness? Does he know disease? Yes. So if you know them, then God knows them too.
Right.
Now, goodness is not disease.
That's true, Father.
Do you need a dictionary or something, Biani?
You're right,
Now,
Father.
I know that. Of course, God knows it too. So God is not going to use disease to bring goodness. No. Disease is the tool of the enemy. Now, the Son makes that super clear. Now, Vianney, do you remember one time in the gospel that the Son comes across disease and says, that has been sent by my Father?
No. In the Gospels, Jesus healed. There was a lot of healings of diseases.
That's all he does. So that's his clearest statement can ever have about that. Disease is not from my Father, not from me, because from my Father comes only one thing. From my Father and myself comes only one thing: life in abundance, and that is not disease. Now, when you begin to call disease God's life, you are living in some Kukuland somewhere. And living on Kukuland Vianney is very painful.
Yes, it is.
Because, yeah. So we make sure that we get some these very clear lessons of the Son of God that have always been in the Holy Book that we've read, we hear too, but we don't really take it. We don't take time, to take time. That's why some people said, but Father, 3 days are too many. I said, yeah, we only require 3 days of your life. But how old are you? Only 3 days. We're not taking 3 years. We're not taking 30 years. It's 3 days, So you can keep all the rest of your life for you. Give us 3 days. But in 3 days, we shall give you a good crash course, send you back to life, and never be the same again, So it's very, very important. So when we get to the point of our own system, we speak about things that people have never heard of, and yet they delete them all the time. They delete them because we are body and spirit. That's how God made us. Okay, yeah. Pretty much. I know I've got a soul or something. Okay, spirit. But then when God made us, He made us through our parents. Yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, what does that mean? Well, yeah, that's it. I said, oh no, that's not it. It only begins there. So we take this thing that people thought they knew, but they really don't. If you are made first of body and spirit, which you know very well, because there's some experience on that for sure. And now I tell you that body comes from your parents' body.
Attachments.
Yeah. So my body comes from my parents' body. But God, body is if you want, but body. Okay, so there is a real strong relationship between my body and my parents' body. Because this body comes from that body. Okay? Oh, but wait. But where we began from, we said, we're not just bodies, we are body and spirit.
Right.
Okay, so it means that there must be something also spiritual. Otherwise, I was born a corpse, but I'm not a corpse. I'm I mean, I'm talking. Ghosts don't talk, So, hey, how about my spirit? And how about my parents' spirit too? Oh, but then there are two people there, not just one. But so in the end, we talk about the way that God designed us in such a way that every single human being is physically and spiritually attached to another physical human being, another spiritual human being. And that's how all of us are made. And is that incredible?
Very.
All of us like this. And yet, here we go in life and we think, oh, it's me, myself, and I. Oh, really? So you see, we can't get it more wrong than this. And as long as we operate on false basis, it all translates into pain and suffering, free of charge. You don't pay for it, just get it. You see? So we begin to talk about how our own system works. So we attach to other people, and just not body, but body and spirit. And then we tell them sometimes for fun, look, in case you would like to forget that you're not from your parents. I mean, you don't have much to do with them anyway. Look at your nose, by the way. I think just like, hey. Oh, no, wait. But my nose is my mom's. Okay, good. It's not even my dad's. Okay. Then whose is it? Is it your grandpa's maybe? Someone has got that nose. It's not your nose. Because if someone had it before you, it can be just yours. I mean, does that make sense to you? Yeah. So you can always say, this is our nose. It's our lips. They're our ears, because someone else in your family has obligatorily had those things exactly as they knew before you had them. And so how dare you now say, oh, I don't care what we don't care. You've been carrying them around and you don't care. How we don't care, So then we say, but what does it mean spiritually now? If this is the bodily part that you see, how about the part you don't see? And what does that all mean? Poof. It's a whole different world, a whole brand new world. But in that world, we live every single moment of our lives. Whether we like it or not, aware of it or not, enjoy it or not, doesn't matter. That's how we just made. So you have to work with that if you're going to call in life or call in death in this life. So we go through those areas that actually specify our own systems and how they work, as given to us by God. And of course, don't forget that God is the creator. I mean, whatever God creates was very good. So all those things are good. The fact that you touch your parents this way is very good. But then we don't forget at some point sin comes into the system. Because when God creates us, sin wasn't viewed. He prepared for sin. So he made us attached to our own families, that we are all good families, of course, wonderful families, no sin. And so we're supposed to only take down what was good, because that's what was there. And then sin came. Oh, the water got poisoned. Now, God's goodness in his eternal plan of creating us that way doesn't stop. We still keep on inheriting all those wonderful things in our family, because that's how he has chosen to transmit life. That's God's choice. It's not our choice, it's God's choice. So we can't deny it. But as that gets on getting transmitted, sin too has put its own sins, and evil keeps on going the same way. See, so the devil basically he bugs the system of God and tries to spread his evil using the same efficient system of God for spreading life. And as you can get life and wonderful things and wonderful gifts in life without really working for them, of course, we don't like to talk about that, but I mean, talk that way, but it's true. We get so many things that are working for them. Even if I study a lot and I've got PhDs, whatever, to begin with, I have a good brain. I didn't give myself those brains. I didn't. I'm working them, they're fine, but I didn't give them to myself. They come from, you see, they come from, now, that's a given. Now, so I find I've got all these PhDs because I've got a good brain that I'm using to study well, yes, but I didn't give myself that brain. That brain was a gift of God through my family. And so just as I can get these wonderful gifts of God just because I belong to that family, also the opposite happens. Oh yeah, unfortunately. I get a lot of bad stuff just because I belong to that family. Oh yeah. But I have got nothing to do with it. You've got nothing to do with it, that's fine. It's got everything to do with you.
So is that what we refer to, Father, as like the generational sin that
Yeah.
passes on? You can never get away from what our family does because we're attached to them. We came from them.
Here we make a distinction between the sin and the consequences of sin. Sin is always the sin of the one who's guilty. So the people, someone is guilty of the sin they've committed. The only sin that we are guilty of without having ever committed is the sin of, remember, Adam and Eve. Now all the rest, we are guilty of our own sins. And that's why for Adam and sin, we need baptism, So we are guilty of a sin that we didn't commit, the only one. All the rest, we are guilty of sin we committed. Instead, the consequences of sin, oh my, we bring those all the time.
So we suffer the consequences of the sin of our parents.
Yeah, of our families, yeah.
Of our families.
Mm-hmm. Here, just think, don't go too far. Think of a parent who's alcoholic. I mean, sometimes, of course, I've been doing this 15 years, like I told you, and sometimes people put up fights and say, "My father, no, but you can't make this." Come and say, look, where do you have to go into theology? You just look around in your village, in your town, in your city. Look at some alcoholic family. Go see how the kids live. Now come back to your own home and look at how your kids are living. And then I ask you, what have those kids done to live like that? Why are they living like your kids? Because their dad's alcoholic. That's it. But did the kids decide? No, of course not. But are they paying the consequence every single minute? They pay for it. Because that is how life is constructed. God made you to depend on your parents, but when he did that, there was no sin. So there were no alcoholics at that time until Adam and Eve. Oops, see that? So God is not to blame for our own sin, because what God devised was the best ever, and to prove it, he never changed it. Even when sin came, never changed it. It still remains the best way. He can give so much goodness to so many people for a long time. Nothing can beat that. But Satan hops into it and does the same. Of course, he will not beat God's system, but he can quite damage it, especially if you're not aware of how things work. So we teach all those things in the process to make sure people really get it well. And then we go to the system of the devil. And that's where we speak about the famous Fox's Point that probably you've heard about. Satan is incredible that all this misery and pain and destruction of life that he has caused in humanity for, I don't know, a billion years, he uses only 4 elements. They're not 40 million. They're not 4 billion. No, they are 1, 2. When you're 3 years old, you could count out to 4. 1, mom, 2, mom, 3, 4. And there you had the whole devil. See? So he uses only 4 things to go after every human life on the planet. But the way he does it is so efficient, it's almost incredible. So we teach people about the 4 access points. What does he use to get into people's lives? Because so much destruction. And what does that mean? It means that if we can know those 4 because they're knowable, like I said before, devil is not God. He's not without end. He's not eternal. He's got limits. So once you get 1, 2, 3, 4, you know what those 4 are. You are able to look out for them. You are able to stop them, and you're able to monitor them. Make sure it doesn't open them again. It's as simple as that, and life makes a whole turnaround.
So, Father, sorry, go ahead.
And so once people understand these things and begin to apply their free will, freedom of choice, faculty have basically to choose between God's life and devil's life, devil's death basically, and they know the traps of the evil one. So it's easy to fight an enemy whom we know, So we tell them what comes from there and how it comes from there and why it comes from there, whatever, and when, whatever. So they know all those things. Now they know if I am watching out on this side of the evil one, I know what to watch for. And I know when to watch. I know how to watch it. And I know how to open the gates of my life to God's life. And I can have God's life come in, and I can stop the evil's life from coming in here. It's as simple as that. So the more of God's life I open into my life, the more my life gets better, and the less the evil's life gets out. I mean, the more the evil life gets out and gets less and less. So the less of the evil's life, which is actually death, I have in me, the more my life will thrive. And of course, the more healing and the more and even development. And then all the things that God has always wished for us begin to take effect, which are completely destroyed when the evil one is chosen, even if you don't know, brought in here and God's life is taken out. That's where all life is. That's why this is very, very easily transferable. Everybody can learn this. They go back home. Now, when they go back home, they get to look at life like this. Oh, wow, how come I never saw this before? So people discover so many things in their life that they were supposed to be there. But they were actually choices made by them that got those things to their own lives that have since brought hell to their own lives. And yet they were believing they're completely in God because they go to church on Sunday. They say they brought rosary at home, and they're good people. And lo and behold, it wasn't just like that.
So I just want to go over the 4 access points, Father, that you mentioned in the book.
Okay.
The first access point being unforgiveness, childhood trauma. The second access point meaning unhealthy relationships with our friends. The third access point, the occult involvement. And then the fourth access point, family bondage. Could you just give us a little overview, each one of them? Not long, just
long, yeah. Because we're just to do this.
Yes,
so
this is a lot. This is a 3-day seminar. So
exactly,
everything. But these are the 4 main access points that Father mentioned in the book and teaches us so that we are aware.
Yeah. They're really 4. They can be more than 4. Maybe sometimes you hear somebody telling you about 5 or take about 7, whatever. They're just 4. They split one of the 4 to make 2 or 3 others to make more numbers. But it's the simplest and easiest to know is just 4. And once people know those 4 and master those 4, they'll be good. Be good. Now, and forgiveness is a big one. The Lord speaks about that in the gospel. But interestingly, the Lord does not tell us about what happens if you don't forgive here on earth. Now, he says, if you don't forgive your brother here or your sister here on earth, your Father won't forgive in heaven, because you ask him to do something that you don't do it yourself, to your friends. Right. So he says, tells us that. But the Lord does not tell us how sick we get when we don't forgive. It doesn't say that. It doesn't tell us how minimal our lives become when we don't forgive. It doesn't tell us that. I believe, of course, the Lord wants us to know these things that are key to our lives. But I believe that the Lord has got a simple approach to life, his own life, but ours as well. Do you remember those words when the Lord says, "My words are spirit and their life"? Mm-hmm. The Lord says it once in the gospel, and of course he assumes that you listen to him. If you're calling him Lord, Yeah. Now, if my words are spirit and their life, it means that every single thing I say to you is important. Keep it. Don't say, "Oh, what was that again?" No, my words are spirit and their life. So if you take my word and my word becomes part of you, you will live. Now, if you don't, the very opposite of that will happen. It's as simple and as crucial as that, So the Lord tells you, you forgive. Now, he doesn't expect you to say, "Oh, no, I mean, that's too much." No. I mean, do you know, I'm talking about life here. So if you begin to resist that, you're going to pay for it dearly, So at one time I said, "But Lord, why don't you tell us what happens if we don't?" Of course, when he tells you something, if you don't do that and you do the opposite of that, you're going to get death out of that. And that is going to be everywhere behind the Lord's word. So that would be such a monotonous lesson. He just drops it. hoping that you understand that whatever I tell you is actually spirit and life. And therefore, don't even contemplate the opposite of that, because you get death out of it, you know. So the Lord has to tell us about what happens to us when we don't believe, we don't forgive. But hell breaks loose on us, you know. So that's what we show people in the seminar, and we explain to them what happens. And then childhood trauma is a big, very, very big one. It's a kind of unforgiveness, but goes way beyond that, because when you're children, you don't know many things yet. And yet, once again, the devil is operative. Again, it goes back to the point we made some time ago. It's not true that when we're not aware, nothing's happening. No. The devil works wonderfully in our not being aware. But just as God works as wonderfully in our not being aware in our own body systems, for example, you know. So it's just a false belief that people like to believe in, just to another lie of the devil, you know, just to keep his past covered or whatever. But it's just pure lie. So when we're children, we don't know stuff. And yet stuff knows us. So the devil takes that advantage of our not knowing, being so ignorant and so young, whatever, and creeps in with trauma. Now, he can get into our lives with trauma and stays in there for 90 years, for as long as we live here.
Wow.
And we are born trauma, we get trauma in kids, and we live for that with trauma for 8, 9, 10 decades of our lives. And if we get out of this life, and basically that trauma even takes us out of life. And we are completely unaware. So is it possible to stop? Of course, once you know the problem, you can find a solution. You can never find a solution without knowing the problem. So it's very possible to deal with these things and take them out of our lives. All these things get rid of unnecessary sufferings in our lives. That's just what God does. So once unnecessary suffering is out of our lives, then of course God's life grows more and more into us. And of course, that's healing, that's progress, development, that's everything good that comes to our lives. Then you've got the enhanced relationships. That's number 2. We speak about it as the great unknown, because a lot of people don't know that even when they don't do something, nothing can do them. You know. So here the point is, I basically I support, or I encourage, or I am one with a friend of mine who is doing something that's evil, not of God, something of evil. Well, I don't have to have done that thing with that person. If I only gave my consent, I did it. And all the...
So this goes for even your family members, father, family members, friends, anybody wants
so
to do with this?
There's got to be consent.
Right.
There's got to be consent. Family doesn't play along those lines, because there's got to be consent. Family plays at other things, but at a much deeper level, though. Okay. But this one is, I choose who is my friend, you see. So okay. I don't choose my family members. They're who they are, that's it. But here, I am out of family circles, and I'm out there, I'm choosing my friends. So I choose who I go with, who I talk with, who I, whatever, who I do stuff with, whatever. So in this choice moment, that's where the important things happen. But it's not really of our own making only. You may look back in your own life and discover that a lot of great things that happen to your own life happen through your friend, not family.
Right.
Yeah, and that's universal. It's incredible. Yes, our family is irreplaceable. That's no doubt. Our family is our family, period. But there are things that make your life what it is that your family don't do. Your friends do those kind of things. You know? So that's a God-made thing. God is the one that put that arrangement in our lives. That our friends take us to a level that our families not do. Even if our friends are always there for us, but it's things they cannot do for us. Yes. So remember, projects, work, where you're going to build your house. Very often, your family will have no choice in that. I mean, you made your own choices, But because a friend was there, because a friend told you about this, because a friend was working for that company, because a friend did that course, So you get these lips in life, but where your friend wasn't present at all. It was just you and your friends. Now, God does that with our friends because he wants to develop us. The devil doesn't miss that point.
So he hijacks it.
Exactly. Just as much as God can do a lot, the devil can bring a lot of destruction, just the same, to your friends. So how does it do it? Unhealthy relationships. I only give my consent to the evil going on in my friends' lives. And because they have friends, I'm sympathetic, I am kind, I don't criticize whatever, and that's the catch that the devil uses. So I get sucked in, and even if eventually I may not be involved in the actual doing of stuff, but because my friends have got my backing, I am in. So what is able, the dysfunction is able to cause my friends for what they have done, he's able to pull it through our friendship and bring them to me. Remember, we have got a spiritual connection anyway because we are body and spirit. So that the part of you is able to put things between my friends and me because there's a spiritual link. Unlike my family, by the way, my friend is a blood and spiritual link. For my friends, only a spiritual link. It's just as powerful.
Wow.
So he plays along that one. You see, the real astonishing thing is this, that what you get that somehow crystallizes down is the devil gets to know us far much better than we know ourselves. You see? And is able to take up and use up our systems and use them to his own advantage, to our own detriment. And we even cooperate with that. And because we don't know. I mean, that's the most shocking thing of all. And that's why my people perish for lack of ignorance. Oh no, lack of knowledge. Or we wish, lack of knowledge. That is so, so true. Ignorance is the biggest single cause of human pain and suffering. That's it. The biggest single cause of human pain and suffering is just pure ignorance, which is the no stuff. Now, so you've got an enemy who knows you and how you function much better than you know yourself. Because no one taught you this thing. So now he comes and uses them just like that. And each time, each move he makes, he brings an untold suffering to you. But because you're a prayerful woman, you say, but God, where are you? And why don't you? Why did you bring this to me? And God is saying, what did I bring? What? But of course, like God, you don't know. You can't even imagine God is asking a question. Just imagine God. I was told you do everything. So can't you undo this? And that's where we're getting the whole concept of wrong prayer. So many hours, prayerful hours of God's holy people are spent in front of the Blessed Sacrament in pure and completely wrong prayer. It's not unprofitable. No. Prayer is just prayer. Prayer always increases our faith. But as far as healing and solving our problems is concerned, there's wrong prayer and it's correct prayer. Wrong prayer, no result. Correct brings results. Now, so many hundreds and thousands, millions of hours of prayer are spent this way. Wrong prayer. Because we're busy telling God what he should not do or do. And since God telling, hey, that's you to do it, not me. But who hears those words of God? Nobody hears them.
Right.
So we ask God, tell God about this thing, that why this thing not getting out of my life, and why this and why that and why that. And God is saying, but I am supposed to be the one asking you those questions, not you asking me. That's your life, Yeah. So because we don't know how these things work, we never captured these lessons and we never captured those questions and even answers, So one, that's why second point is a very big one, because it's like the great unknown. People have got no idea, hardly, that the devil can actually access us even physically through our friendships that are actually a spiritual thing.
Right.
Number three, everything has to do with the powers of the occult and witchcraft and all that stuff. Of course, remember in the Old Testament, there's not almost a single prophet who didn't fight against that. Has always been a big temptation of humanity to get things quick and cheap. And that's the whole point. Devil says, oh, come on, don't pray that long. I can give you money quick. Just sacrifice to me, Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah, sacrifice to me. And you can get money. And it's not a secret in our present world today. We have got so many rich people, filthy rich, but because they have gone to the devil for that money.
So they basically sell their
Exactly.
souls for that.
And he gives it. Yeah, but he gives it, and then, of course, then they're his. They're his. It's just incredible. So there's a lot of that in our world, but it's not a new thing, it's an incredible thing. So this is not new. It only takes on new forms as life goes on. It comes from the Old Testament, you remember that place where God says, tells Moses, actually Moses tells the people, because God had told him. Here is God's word, whatever, but at the edges of the village, basically the camp, because they're still in movement, the necromancers, not really necromancers, but like the witchcraft and all those fortune tellers, they'll stay at the ends there.
Mm-hmm.
And people will leave the village and they'll go at the ends there for this divination stuff. And Moses will tell the people, if somebody's gone those people and goes out the village, kill him. You say, what? I mean, Moses, come on. I mean, how about you got the commandments of God? Yeah. But what was Moses fighting against? People go out there and they see stuff that they don't see here. And they don't see with God either. Because God doesn't work that way, And so they say, wow, we've seen power. What? Oh, we've seen power. So they come back to the village and they talk about the powers they've seen there and they contaminate everybody. And before you know it, the people want to go and see the power too there. And slowly people begin to drift. So if somebody's gone there, just don't ask them what they saw. Kill them. End of story. But what was Moses defending against? He's defending against the holiness of God. And as long as this constant contamination, there's no way God's holiness will grow in his people when that thing is keeping on coming like. So that has been a constant temptation from earliest times up to today. I just takes on different forms, different cultures. Very, very important. Now, when I began to travel around the world, it's really amazing because Satan has got an incredible ability to adopt cultures in incredible ways. So what you find here, you don't find there, same devil, but just different, Sometimes so different that even gets lost.
Right.
But if you know healing of families, you know what to look for and know where to look, and always find him there. Oh, Rick, getting at you like that. Ooh, you found me again, my enemy. Yeah, so it's the same. But how is it able to? How are you able to discover him wherever you are or wherever you go? Because he's the same, and he has always used the same good old tricks of his. There's just four. That's it. How does it change them? Can't change them. He's limited to those. Now, this whole area of divination, powers of the occult, whatever, satanic powers, is a whole big deal. Now, it's a very big field. You can actually do a whole seminar on that 3 days on just this one, because there are many ramifications of it, divisions of it. You've got the cultural occultism, you've got the modern occultism, you've got the educational kind of technological, occultism, a lot of stuff. So people have got to be aware. And then they'll be surprised how much of the stuff is already in their homes.
Yes.
They've had there for a long time. I know they're wondering why they're suffering, but of course, that was here.
It's like the eye that's going around right now, Father. If they have like a little blue eye, everybody's wearing it as jewelry. And I'm looking at it and I'm saying, do you not know what that is? Yes, because now that I've learned this, I'm very aware of these things, and they're selling it in jewelry and chains, and it's everywhere. So you're seeing it, and I'm like, shocked. Yes.
Now, people just don't know stuff, and because they don't know stuff, they believe there's no stuff. So they don't wishes. He wishes that you believe that there's. Since you don't know stuff, there's no stuff, because that's his best coverage they can have to work. He works in quiet, not disturbed, in peace, and just consistently and persistently destroys our lives. And that is big time. So we look into all that whole area there. Then we also look into the fourth axis point, which is the family bodies. Now, family bodies is while the second axis point is the great unknown, the unhealthy relationship with friends, The third one is the most powerful one. The
Mhm.
devil does so much physical and spiritual destruction when it comes into through the occult, because there we make a direct contact with Satan, which doesn't happen anywhere else. It only happens when we, in this number 3, when we actually do the things of, so we get in witchcraft, we get into occultism, we get into fortune telling, then we got a very, very direct contact with the devil, and therefore become so powerful, of course, for so powerfully destructive. That's what it comes to. So that's his most destructive access point. He said number 4 is the widest, very, very wide. Very, very wide. Sometimes gets so wide that almost gets invisible sometimes. It's just so wide. And it's basically engineered into our family system. So it's something that he has dug deep into our family systems. I like to call it our family spiritual fabric. Not in the sense of our prayerfulness, no, in the sense of our having a spiritual reality to our own lives, body and spirit. So my family has got a body. What is it? My uncle, my auntie, those bodies that you see, my own body as well. My family has got a spirit to it too. The spiritual backgrounds of all these people that I involve in my family. That's what I like to call the family spiritual fabric. Now, it's in there that the evil deposits stuff. And it's completely hidden, invisible. And it just comes up here, comes up there, comes up there, comes up there. So you see people getting stuff, but
You don't
believe.
understand.
You don't understand. You don't even think that it's actually the same root. Yeah, you know they're family, that's true, but I mean, just like Joe, to share the of Joe, like, I asked Joe about Joe, these things you've had all your life, are you the only one that has them in your family? And then so Joe goes like, wow, Father, how come I didn't think about that before? Of course not, you see? And yet this man was 60 years old. Can I mean, certainly assume has been more than halfway his life on earth. And he had the slightest clue, see? And yet the devil was so busy destroying his life, using a foundational thing that has been his family, that he was picked on and pulled upon whoever he wanted to pull upon it, and he just worked against it.
So Father, so this can go, this thing can be in our family lines for many, many years and not even realizing it. Because when you grow up in something like in situations where alcohol is common in your family, you just think it's normal.
Yeah, I mean, what's wrong with a drink,
Yeah.
But
like my father was this way, my grandfather was this way, my uncles are doing it, my grandmother is doing, so this is normal for me and my family. Not even thinking that, wait, this is not normal. This is not.
Even our own judgment, these kind of things get very, very weak, I know it's not really right, but I mean, so what? Why? Because I grew up seeing that, So I am not able to say, oh no, I didn't. Of course, it's not every time, but I mean, usually I may not have that strength to stand up against this because, by the way, I came from my mother's womb, and maybe already when I was in my mother's womb, she drank too. You see, how do you expect to come out and fight against this? I mean, I drank it already myself. Yeah, I think it's that powerful. Now, what we say about alcohol can be applied equally to any other thing in life, any other thing, any behavior, any other. It's just any other thing. You see, it's that powerful. So, the devil has not found a better way of causing so much destruction to so many people for so long time. The best way can do that is only family. There's no way he can do that. So many people, so much suffering, and for so long. The only way you can get those three things together is only through a family room.
I pray for your healing. Circumstances would change.
Every project has to start somewhere, and Brothers Habet's got you covered. We're the place for professionals because we understand success is built on quality and reliability. For the do-it-yourselfers seeking quality tools and materials to bring their out-of-the-box ideas to life, our paint department offers a kaleidoscope of hues to those looking to express their unique style. And for those seeking the perfect touch of elegance for their homes, we offer a curated collection of household fixtures and furnishings that caters to every taste. But what sets Brothers Habet apart is our exceptional customer service. Our employees go above and beyond to ensure that every customer's needs are met. We're here to see you through your building journey. Visit Brothers Habet and get started today, or call or WhatsApp us for a quote. See you soon!